Welcome. I'm your host, Susan Grau. Join me for an extraordinary journey that surpasses the boundaries of the unknown. I offer insights into this life, the afterlife, near-death experiences, and healing for the soul. You'll receive answers to the questions about where your loved ones are in spirit and a clearer understanding of where we go when we leave this consciousness. The truth of life and the afterlife will be revealed. Join me right here, right now on Infinite Life, Infinite Wisdom. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Infinite Life, Infinite Wisdom, where we talk all things afterlife. I'm your host, Susan Grau. I'm an author, a healer, a speaker, metaphysical teacher, and an intuitive medium, among other modalities. Today, I want to talk to you about how death has always been the greatest teacher for us while we are living here on this journey. And so we're going to take a deep dive into that. You know, as a hospice worker, I've always truly believed that death has been humanity's greatest teacher. And it reveals the truth of what really matters in this life we live here. And I have this belief system that the profound wisdom that comes from those who have walked close to the veil is vast. It is probably the closest we can get, because once we're gone, and we're not going to be able to come back here and actually talk about it unless we're with a medium. So our lessons are learned by loss. And when I was doing hospice work, there were so many beautiful stories that I would hear of loved ones that met them before they left to go to the other side, and a lot of final words on this planet that they would give me or give the people around them before they would leave. So we're going to talk about that. Also, you know, the common thread of NDEs and the takeaways from them and things like that. So let's go ahead and go. When I was working with hospice, I would talk to people all day long. You know, that's what I do, and that's what I did. Thinking we'd stay here. We actually started out here agreeing to leave here. Yet all of us wonder what's happening when we're growing older. I know for me, I still do. And we question everything. And also we are afraid. You know, we're afraid of how we're going to die. We're afraid of not being in this existence. And that's our ego. And I believe ego is necessary. It's not something that we don't want to have. But I also know that it keeps us going here, but it also can cause us harm. And they would say things like, I don't think my husband can live without me here. How can the world continue if I'm not here? What am I going to miss out on? What are all the things I wish I would have done? And I would have conversations. One woman was telling me about how she wished she would have danced. She was afraid to dance in front of people, and she wished so much she would have danced more. Another one told me they wish they would have stayed home more, that they were always running around trying to get ahead in job and work. And boy, I can relate to that, right? Moving around in work all the time. And my husband was always moving to go up the ladder. And so, we didn't settle in as much as we could have and create, friendship base in every city we were in. It was always we were leaving. So that friendship base would leave. Although we stayed connected, we didn't see them anymore. So, I have those regrets. And also making sure that I'm listening to my family. I heard that a lot. Like I didn't listen. I was always somewhere else in my head. And I wish so much I would have listened. And recognizing I can't take the money with me was probably the biggest one. Money can't go with me. And it's all I thought about. The fear of money, the fear of not having money, the fear of not recreating money, thinking money was the end all, because on this planet you get to do more with money. But what I realized is I could have done so much more with my family, money or no money. So those are some of the comments that I would hear from the hospice people when they were getting prepared to leave this planet. Kindness, connection, courage, sharing about wanting to be with their loved ones more, and speaking about the light and music and the presence in the room. I would hear them talk about what was going on in the room and the music they'd hear, and how passing wasn't scary like they thought. and that they saw loved ones and they saw angels. I mean, this was going on while I was sitting there listening to them. The most common regret I would hear was not living authentically, not expressing their love enough, wasting time on fear and worry, and not being authentic, not being true to who they were. It's the one thing that I put a lot of emphasis on in my own journey is being authentic and being with my family and having forgiveness and never having unfinished love. Always, letting everyone know that I love them and what they mean to me and how important they are to my journey, what they've brought to the table. And it really was about connection, not perfection. And I feel like we forget that when we're here on this planet. We don't connect in the way we should. We don't spend our time teaching people to get close to us. We spend our time teaching people how to treat us. We spend our time teaching people how to get along with us. We spend our time teaching people how to understand us, but we don't teach them how to spend time with us because we're always running around busy. We're always doing something somewhere, not focusing the energy on where it belongs, which is in human connection. So in that perspective, it changes how we want to interact with people. And that's what I heard a lot in my hospice work. I wish I would have interacted. I wish I would have connected more. I wish I could have spoken my truth. That's a big one. I hear that from everyone who is getting ready to cross and from spirits on the other side. Why didn't I speak my truth? What was I so afraid of? That I didn't have a right to have my truth, that I had to go along with everyone else and believe what everyone else thought, or that my truth didn't matter, that it didn't have meaning. And so I wouldn't speak it. I would speak the truth that people wanted me to speak or be what people wanted me to be. I would hear, I got my pat on the back by being the caretaker of everyone. So I always spent my life taking care of everyone else and I didn't know how to take care of me. I mean, that's like a huge comment if you think about how big that is to not know even how to take care of yourself and because you're so busy knowing what everyone else needs. And I grew up like that. I always wanted to take care of everybody else and I knew everybody else's needs. And when somebody would ask me, what do you want, Susan? What do you need, Susan? I wouldn't have an answer for that. I had to think about it. But if I thought I knew what you wanted, so if you said something, I'd be like, I know exactly what you need. And that's how I spent my life. So I wasn't true to myself. I wasn't self-reflective in the sense of knowing what my needs were and then being able to speak that truth. We are creatures of habit. And I would hear a lot about how they wish that they would have changed things that bothered them, that they wouldn't keep the same habits, that they would spread their wings, they'd travel to different places, they wouldn't be afraid to expand. So these are the comments that I would hear. And I took that in. And I wanted to do it differently. I didn't always achieve that, but I certainly wanted to do it differently. I wanted to expand. I wanted to go places and do things. And I still do. I still want to. And I also still want to help people because that wasn't something they were negative about helping people, but they wanted to know what they needed. And it took me a lot of years to understand that I had needs and that I deserved to be treated the way that I wanted to be treated, not the way someone else wanted to treat me. And that I had a right to speak up and to speak my truth. And I know a lot of you feel that way. We're still hiding our truths, right? We don't want to upset and rock the boat. We don't want to confront the truth of something because maybe someone won't like us or won't think that we're kind or won't believe that we know what our feelings are. And so we're just randomly saying things. I've had people say to me, you don't even know what you feel. And I think, well, you're right. I don't know what I feel. I was afraid to know what I felt because that would mean I'd have to speak my truth. So these are some of the lessons that I learned along the way. And so for many years, I have been learning how to speak my truth. So if someone says to me, well, you feel this and this, Susan, I can actually say, no, that's not what I feel. That's inaccurate. This is what I feel. This is what I think. And that's been a huge hurdle for me because I want to just have peace at any cost. And I have learned that my peace at any cost is what that actually means. My peace, not everyone else's. Because when I'm at peace, the people around me are at peace most of the time. And if they're not, I'm able to help them find their peace because I'm at peace. So these are powerful lessons from people crossing over. And then the people on the other side, the spirits on the other side, tell me things like, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. Like, I wish I would have stopped cleaning my house every day and worrying about the fuzz on the floor and gone outside and played in nature. I wish when my children were talking to me, I wasn't busy texting, that I was actually listening. I wish that I would have put everything away when my children wanted to go do something and did it with them. I wish I would have danced. I wish I would have cried more. I wish I would have watched humanity and animals and loved on them more. When my dog came to me with the ball, why didn't I go out and play more with my dog? Why didn't I have those connections that I needed to have? I was too busy cleaning the house or preparing for work or preparing for dinner or working or talking on the phone or doing mindless things, watching TV. My connections weren't there. That's what I hear. And they come here to make that connection again or to create that connection again and to let you know how important you are to them. I can't tell you how many relationships I've been in that I was not feeling important. I was actually feeling criticized or judged or I felt like they didn't love me the way I deserved to be loved. But I didn't know how to teach people how to treat me. I do now. And that's by speaking my truth and being authentic. So the lessons in the afterlife would be, how connected are you? Are you in the now? Are you witnessing what's going on around you? Or walking around in anger, lack of forgiveness, lack of compassion? Forgiveness doesn't mean we co-sign people's bullshit. Forgiveness means that we understand why they're in that space, or that we don't carry resentment. I heard one time that, and I've heard it many times since, that expectations are premeditated resentments. And that's so true. We hold on to resentments. And because we have an expectation that someone's going to be able to meet something we want and they can't meet it, and then we have resentment. So we're already starting out with resentment because we know that people can't meet our expectations, but we don't want to remind ourselves of that when we're carrying an expectation. So I might expect someone to do a particular thing, and when they don't, I carry resentment. I've learned that not to have that expectation. My only expectation is to be treated with respect. And if they can't, I remove them from my life. Did I always do that? No. And when I remove them from my life, I don't do it with anger. Anything I've ever done in anger, I've regretted. I remove them with love, but I keep them further away. I put a space between us because I don't feel respected. I didn't always feel that way. I would let people disrespect me and I would jump in and try to be loved by them anyway. So I'd let them, and I love the theory, let them, but it's not saying let them disrespect you. It's saying let them be who they are and decide what you want to do about it. So what I've learned about boundaries, for me, a healthy boundary isn't about saying, I'm not going to let you treat me this way. It's about what am I going to do when they do? Because if I have to set boundaries with someone, it's because they're boundary crossers and they're going to continue to cross them. So what am I going to do when they do? That's a boundary. Maybe I'll leave, I'll go read, I'll go to the store, I'll say, I'm not going to accept this right now, so I'm going to go ahead and exit the building, whatever it is I need to do. But it's me taking care of me. That's what a true boundary is. People who are crossing over have talked to me about that. Like, I never set healthy boundaries. I was always angry. You ever meet those people that they're always angry at someone? They have to be angry at someone. And wherever they go, they have anger at someone. And if they're not angry at someone, they feel like they're not alive. That's because they've never learned healthy boundaries for themselves, not just how others treat them, but for themselves. They haven't learned that you have to set healthy boundaries in order to be not so angry all the time, because people that make you angry won't be pushing on you constantly. But also, I hear them say things like, I wish I would have handled that differently. So I have this little thing about pausing, not reacting, but taking action. And the only way to do that is to pause. Every time I do anything again in anger or in reactionary behavior, I'm regretting it. So I try to pause and listen. So let me give an example. If a friend calls me and they're having anxiety attacks and they're suffering and they've called me every single day and they're going through a lot and I feel like I'm being drained by it, I can set boundaries in that. I can say I'm only going to talk to them every other day, or I'm only going to give them 15 minutes. But when I do give them the time, I need to listen, not judge. I need to listen. Where are they coming from? What's on their plate? Why do you think they're behaving this way? Why do you think they're filled with anxiety? And then giving them some solutions, if I have some that might be of help, and or just being the ear. So now when my children call me, if I see that they are calling me and I want to give them a lot of advice, I'll say something to them like, do you want some advice from me? Do you want me to tell you what I think, or do you want me just to listen? Because in hospice work, I hear a lot. I wish I would have listened more and talked less. That's huge. When we listen, we hear it differently. Hearing something is not listening, guys. I can hear things in the background, but I'm not listening with my mind and my spirit and my soul. Hearing is just hearing it. Listening is connecting into that person and putting things aside. Have you ever called someone on the phone and you're trying to tell them about a problem you're having and you can tell they're not there and they'll ask you to repeat it 3 or 4 times? I mean, I've done that to people, so I know when people are doing that to me. How important is it when a human needs connection? How important is that phone? How important is that TV screen? How important is it? I don't think it's as important as connecting in and listening and being available. So, the goal on our journey is to have that beautiful availability to others whenever they need us if we are in self care. So, when I'm not in self care, I'm constantly overextending myself. But in self care, when someone needs me, I haven't been overextended so I can be available to them. Now, there are people that are energy vampires. That's the truth. They don't want to change, they want to complain. And those are people that we need to pay attention to, too. We need to say to ourselves, does this person really want to make changes, or do they just want to be in their misery? Some people like misery, and misery loves company. You know that saying. And some people want to be in their misery. But when people are leaving this planet, the people that have lived in that misery with them say, I wish I would have done something different. I wish I wouldn't have allowed that to pull me in all the time. I was always so drained. And so an example would be living with a narcissist. Why did I allow that energy to constantly take over my thinking? Why was I always defending myself? Listen, this is what I tell people that live with narcissists. If you're right or accurate, there's nothing to defend. And if you're wrong, there is no defense. So get it out of your communication skills. It's hard to do, easy to say, simple words, not easy to do. So, when I am in a conversation, I used to get very defensive because I took everything personally. I personalized everything, which is another thing I hear people say that are leaving the planet in hospice. I wish I didn't personalize everything. I did. And so when somebody would say something, I would take it immediately as they were attacking me or they were making a comment at me. And they weren't. 99% of the time, it had nothing to do with me. People do what they do because of who they are. How I respond to them decides who I am. That's what decides who I am. So, being out there in the world and interacting with people, I've learned not to be defensive, not to put that posture up. Does it always work? No. There are times where I get really defensive, but most of the time, I don't have to go there because it doesn't work in my communication skills. All it does is give someone else the control. They own me at that point. And I don't want someone to own me. The same thing as if somebody treats me badly and I react to it, they're owning me at that moment. And I don't want that. because they're controlling my emotions because I'm reacting and reacting and reacting. So that's something I work on all the time. And my reactions are very different now than they were when I was younger. When I was younger, I had a lot of loss and a lot of stress and a lot of confusion about who was Susan. Who is Susan? That's what I would ask myself. Who am I? I didn't know. And today in my life, I know clearly who I am and what I bring to the table. So if I'm bringing people into my life that don't serve me also the way that I serve them, I need to reevaluate who I'm bringing in. What kind of person's sitting at my table? If they were coming to a dinner with me, literally, I would be evaluating them. Why am I not evaluating them? Because they're in my life. It's a good question to ask ourselves. I hear people in hospice say, I wasted a lot of time on people that didn't deserve that time. And I can't get that back now. I'm leaving. Think about that. Don't waste your time on people that haven't earned it. Be loving and kind to yourself. Be in a state of generosity with yourself. Know who you are. Now, when spirits come back from the afterlife, they talk to me a little bit about what they wish they would have done differently. And they're not in guilt and shame. They're just trying to help us heal what they did to us or what they wish they would have. They want us to know what they wish they would have done differently. And they'll say the same things that I hear with people that are leaving. So I've learned so much about living this life by not only having an NDE, but also by what I hear other people say that are leaving the planet or that have come back from an NDE. The ones that come back from it always say to me, I wish I would have been happier. And so now I'm going to be. I wasted so much time on things that didn't make me happy. And happiness isn't about, it's all about me and nothing about you. That's not happiness. That's just selfishness. You've heard me talk about that boat, that pendulum, the boat at the fair where you go way up, 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 and that's selfishness, and way up, up, up the other side, that's selflessness. But there's a middle ground. And that's when we're on the ground, and we're not in that anxiety base of going way, way up, panic, way, way up the other side. And that is called self-care. So being in a place of self-care, I've learned that I am worthy of being happy. I always wanted to be a comedian. I always wanted to be someone that was funny. I'm so deep that it's really hard for me to be funny. And every once in a while, I'll say something funny in the room, we'll laugh, and I'll think, wow, where did that come from? I really love it. I admire people who make others laugh and giggle and that bring that to the table. And I love that in my life. Don't you just love that deep guttural laughter? I love it. How often do you do it? I don't do it nearly enough. And I keep reminding myself I need to be in spaces and places that I can do that I feel free to do that I am happy in. I remember about 5 or 6 years ago, I was really struggling. And it was a short period of time that I was struggling, thank God. But I was really struggling. And I remember saying to my husband, I just want to be happy. That's all I want. And he'd say, then be happy. And I'd look at him like, are you nuts? I can't just be happy. Look what's going on in the world. Look at all the bad things in the world. Look at what's happening to people. Look at how negative people are. Look at what's going on politically and every other venue. My husband would say, that doesn't mean you can't be happy. Be happy if you want to be happy. I didn't relate to that at all. How could I be happy when animals are being hurt and all these things are happening? Am I happy those things are happening? No. But if I bring happiness into me, I take happiness out into the world and I can change the vibrational energy, mine and others. So it does matter. Happiness matters so much. And so laughter is some of that. That brings some happiness in, which I love. So learning from the afterlife how to live in this life journey has been my greatest gift. And I just wanted to give you a little piece of that, just a little moment of what it feels like to resonate in the energy of someone who's leaving. For all of you that have had someone that was sick and leaving, and you actually got to have conversations, because I find a lot of people come to me and say they wouldn't talk to me. Why wouldn't they talk to me? They knew they were leaving. Why wouldn't they talk to me? What was wrong with me? And I say, nothing. They didn't know. Somewhere inside of them, they had some form of denial. That's all. But for the ones that are fortunate enough that people talk about it, which I wish all of you would, because your loved ones need that. For those of you that have that, you know what I'm talking about. You know how many lessons you can learn from that. Sit down and talk to people who are leaving or people who are older. Listen. Actually listen. Don't just hear them. Listen. You're going to find so many beautiful, beautiful ways to change the way you think. Learning about what real life means. What's it mean to be in real life, not just doing the motions? Being present, showing up. Show up for yourself and others, and you will find that your life expands and grows and becomes so much more than it's ever been. Show up for yourself mostly. Most of us show up for others whenever we can. Show up for yourself so that you can teach yourself that every moment is precious. Every moment. A moment ago, my children were babies. It's like yesterday. And when you're young, you don't recognize that. And then all of a sudden you're not. And you think, my God, this goes fast. This is fast. This is a blip, a blur. Make it the best blip. Make it the best blip. Make it the best. It's just a moment in time. Do everything you can to bring joy and happiness into your life and not stress on the things that I just taught you about what people share from the afterlife and people in hospice. The most beautiful work I ever did was hospice work. And now it's grief work. Sometimes I want to go back to that hospice work, but I know my job is to help people with grief and change, personal change. We want to make these changes. Change is important. We want to grow and be more for the things that we go through, not bad because of it, not less than because of it. That's just our brain. We don't need that. So when you go out into the world, bring joy, bring love, bring happiness. And yes, you have to be in self-protection. I'm not idolizing the world as being, this wonderful, perfect place. But when you're in a safe space, bring love and happiness to others through your own love and happiness. So that when you leave this planet, you won't be saying to someone, I wish I would have been happier. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you gained something wonderful from this conversation. You take care of you. I loved our shared time together during this extraordinary soul journey on infinite life, infinite wisdom. Until next time, may the infinite wisdom we've uncovered guide you on your own unique path. Please don't forget to hit the follow button so you don't miss any new episodes. My book, Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons, is available now. Wishing you healing and love until we meet again. This is Susan Grau. Remember, they are only a heartbeat away. Take care of you.